Well, here we are, once again,
Here?
here in this room,
This is not a room. This is your imagination.
in this imagination land station, in this warehouse. It's actually huge. It's just 50,000 square feet, and you never realize it because we just like this one specific corner.
Small corner.
It's the only area that's painted and then has a spot we can set the curtains, so curtain corner.
Why
there you
ruin
go.
it for them?
Yeah.
You know, we're actually on a ship.
We're going to expand to that
In the
one day. We're going to
Caribbean.
start a t-shirt shop. We're going to be doing gun review videos. We're going to be showing you around my mansions and all my cute kids and my oh wait, sorry, this isn't Demolition Ranch. But anyways.
That's more like demolition blue cheese.
Yes, but today, of course, we are speaking about X-Men. And we're not just speaking about any X-Men, we're speaking about all of them.
Every single one.
And all of our opinions and all that comes with it. So we're going to try yet again to condense, to bring it down into some solid bullet points. Something that gives you a good idea of what there is about this franchise that's actually good. We're unfortunately going to spend a lot of time in the bad because, again, and as always, continuity be damned. So,
At least all the way up to 4.
at least. Today is not a top 10. We're just going to go with all of them. And since there was close to 10, we figured it would be kind of silly to leave out just 2. So today is going to be all 12 of the X-Men movies, rated from best to worst.
Or worst to best, depending
Or
on
worst to best, depending on how you're going to look at it, because really, we have a lot of bad to say about these, which is unfortunate because it's a franchise that we love. It's a comic book that we
wore
love.
the shirt. Wore the shirt.
We all have our own personal favorite characters, and it's sad to say that my personal favorite character is kind of starting to move into kind of a close second because the movies have deviated so far away from the original character that I can't quite say that I'm as much of a fan anymore. Fashion that seat.
All right.
But yeah, if they could just stick with the true to the character personality traits and what their actual superpowers are, a reboot is really just kind of a layup. I mean, I'm telling you, they could just absolutely just knock it out of the park because all they'd have to do is do everything opposite of, or just don't do what Fox did.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Disney's reboot when it finally comes back around, if it's going to ever happen. But all that to say, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this here topic.
What did you expect? Yellow spandex?
I mean, really. No, I expected bondage leather and black outfits and, awkwardness and stiff,
Lots of
uptight
wire fighting.
acting,
Wires!
Yeah. So, starting off with number 12, we have
Bottom
of the barrel, our least favorite of the whole franchise, the Dark Phoenix, which is interesting because it's the note that Fox decided to end on, and they really didn't go out with a bang. I mean, short of flashy Michael Bay explosions and tactics and lots of great CGI, I don't understand the acting because we had a lot of great actors in all these movies, and they've really been subdued in a lot of ways. Again, continuity, major issue for these guys. They can't seem to take the time to go back and watch their previous movies to see
Don't worry about it.
what the story was and how they should kind of build and expound upon that. It's just always like as if they take every individual movie and decided this is going to be its own thing. And we're going to try and connect it loosely to everything, but not go through and actually have somebody study to figure out how I could connect these. We're just going to try and make loose ideas of what could possibly be.
Yeah, not to mention the aging process. So much different for mutants than human beings, it seems like, in these movies, especially the newer ones. Have no idea. I mean, I understand that Wolverine as a character is like 150 years old, and he's got a healing process, which makes him, invulnerable to aging, I suppose.
But makes perfect sense as to why he would look the same through all of them, but yet Hugh Jackman was aging normally, and it showed in a lot of the movies, and it seemed like they were going back in time a lot, but yet he still looked older.
Veins.
Yeah.
But Mystique, or Jennifer Lawrence Mystique, didn't age at all, and I'm trying to figure out, I mean, maybe I'll give her an excuse because she's got the ability to change the way she looks, but I still don't understand.
Alter her atoms.
Still don't understand how or why she needs to be Jennifer Lawrence in a, mansion full of mutants.
Well, especially when she first came into the whole scenario in First Class, and suddenly it was all about being mutant and proud. It was all about not hiding yourself, even though she had the ability to change. She didn't want to hide herself. She wanted to be her normal self, and yet from that point on, we see less and less of Mystique and more of Jennifer Lawrence. So I understand what they're going for there. I don't agree with it, but I guess I kind of get it because some actors just won't act unless they get enough face time. They won't put a mask on, they won't put makeup on, and that's just becoming a problem for somebody who's trying to play a character, but yet still be themselves the entire time.
And Beast turning into the Blue Hulk. Where I get angry, I turn into Beast.
Another note of why change the original character's abilities, because the Beast turned into the Beast. He was never able to change back and forth. So why they changed that for the movie just for Nicholas Hoult? Yet again, I don't get why we need to worry about FaceTime in these movies when we're just completely eradicating anything that has to do with character basis.
I'm a big fan of makeup.
Yeah. So all that to say, with the Dark Phoenix, there was just, basically this is the culmination of everything they've been doing wrong up until this point, all in one movie.
It was great in that sense.
And I'm sorry, I do like Sophie Turner a little bit, but
No
unfortunately she has not nailed down a American accent yet, so to see her bounce back and forth and kind of waver in and out of it was almost as hilarious as the one slip-up that we had from Hugh Jackman in the first movie a long time ago. Because past that point, I don't recall ever seeing him or hearing him slip back into Australian too much.
No, he did very Joe America after a while, even though he's Canadian.
So, again, a lot of just regurgitated stuff, a lot of what we've already seen, before. Don't understand why they did it in a lot of ways, but I guess it was just kind of their last hoorah, and since they'd already been going with this whole, setting up this precedent up to this point, again, why change what we've been doing, up until this point? Why change anything around? We'll still get money for this here.
Ooh, they put X's on your suits, and they made them yellow and blue. Mm-hmm. So here's a little bone.
We killed Mystique off again by stabbing her. So does that mean she's going to pop up again somewhere else because she didn't actually die?
She died because she didn't want to be in this franchise anymore.
Exactly.
And who can really blame her at this point?
Yeah. So if you see it for what it is, I get it. If you're just kind of fulfilling your contractual obligations, that's one thing. But
all right.
Going on to number 11 now, we have X-Men Origins Wolverine.
We've talked about this before in the past videos and how much we dislike their ability to destroy Deadpool as a character. But in a sense, I can't hate it completely because if it wasn't for them destroying it, we probably wouldn't have had such great Deadpool movies.
Yeah. In some ways, they can actually set something out there as a precedent that now we can learn from it and do something better, and somebody did eventually do that, which we'll get around to later on. But
best part of the movie is the opening with the war sequence where everybody, the Wolverine and his brother Sabretooth are, going from war to war. That's probably the best part of the whole flick. I mean,
which I'll have to go back and look into it later, but I'm not sure if he ever was actually his brother, if they were just brothers in arms, if they just went through the similar Weapon X project together, or if they were actually blood brothers related. I don't remember that part of the comic book. What they do with it in the movie wouldn't surprise me at all if they just completely made it up.
Though. They got his name right. So.
They did. And I do like the idea that the Origins comic book kind of changed a little bit of the story. So obviously Logan is James Howlett, who was born in the 1800s, so he is over 100 years old. So it kind of helped that backstory a little bit moving forward from this point with the comic books, but then again, we saw the movie issue to worry about where they really play with continuity.
I will say I did like his hair in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked pretty natural. It didn't look like a wig.
Natural,
but I'm going to move on because we talked about this movie before.
Yeah, you already know our opinions and viewpoints on this, so we can just leave it as number 11 and move on to number 10.
Yeah, which is Apocalypse, or X-Men Apocalypse, and having Poe Dameron as the Apocalypse.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, it was really not a terrible decision. I mean, I like him as an actor, and he did.
I mean, it was a stretch for him considering he's like 5'6" himself. So to try and play a 9-foot tall Apocalypse, which they did not allude to once in the movie, kind of confused me as well. But
and how does Professor X lose his hair? Stress. Yeah.
Extreme mutant stress.
Well, stress from being pushed by Apocalypse, not by having all these thoughts in his mind of other people for like 25 years.
Not for using Cerebro to expand his brain to be able to see every mutant on the planet with the ability to think about them too hard and kill them all.
I would have loved to see James McAvoy with a comb over, like as the movies went on. He kept getting more thin, and just like, pissed on it.
See it deteriorate to the point where Jennifer Lawrence finally steps in and goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about shaving it?"
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, you're kind of hot when you're Jennifer Lawrence. I might as well do that."
Yeah. And we kind of had a thing at the beginning, but then we kind of left that alone and then never went back to it again, and suddenly she's all about Nicholas Hoult again. But again,
I don't know about love in this universe much at all. I guess the closest thing we had to that was Iceman.
I mean, we deferred from the get-go when we suddenly made Mystique a good guy. So, yeah, I don't know. That is just
a good guy. I mean, she's been kind of a good guy from time to time. I mean, later in the year.
Yeah, I had moments slipping in and out, but, as far as movies are concerned, nope, solid, good superhero character.
It was just full of 80s bullcrap, too. Like, and they totally cut that out for Dark Phoenix when they went to the 90s. They're like, we're not going to talk about 90s stuff.
Oh, yeah.
No.
We want to be in a certain generation, now we're not. Now we want to be in a certain timeline, but we're not. We screwed up this timeline, but we went back and made it all better with this movie. But again, it just leaves us confused all the time, wondering what the heck they were thinking. I mean, I know it's hard to herd squirrels, but I guess when the squirrels are writers, you can't really get them all to settle down on one thought.
But the best part of this flick is probably just visually seeing Archangel.
Yeah.
Other than that, I could just leave it.
Yeah, I made the attempt with the Four Horsemen. We had Olivia Munn in there as a short...
Magneto actually shows some really cool powers, the ability to like take the iron out of the earth. And you're like, oh, that's cool. He can really do some stuff. Yeah. Let's not tackle that ever again. No, let's just make him a wimp who cries a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, with the continuity issues, because you set up certain characters as having certain abilities, and then you take those abilities away in later movies with no explanation whatsoever. We're just supposed to try and helpfully follow along here. It's a whole lot of that doesn't make any sense, but just go with it.
Yeah, the continuity when it comes to characters, when it comes to powers, when it comes to story, you're off X-World. Mm-hmm. For some stinking reason, these movies are just completely off. I don't know. Half the time they're the same director, so he must be doing something wrong. I don't know. But moving right to the next movie, which actually I saw in the theater. I saw a lot of these in the theater.
I was almost excited for this one. When we speak of it being the third movie in a trilogy, when it being The Last Stand, you're expecting big and epic things. And to a certain extent, they tried. They tried to go for the Phoenix Saga already. This has already been done once before, which is why we have an issue with continuity.
Failed because they were so cool in the comics, they didn't even go half as cool in the movies.
Magneto lifting the entire, which specific bridge was it? I don't remember, but then floating that across
Golden Gate Bridge.
Golden Gate Bridge, yes. Yeah. That was definitely an interesting scene. That was cool to showcase his power, but do we see anything of the like again before or after with his power? No. And as we've seen too, that apparently he can shut down Wolverine no problem, but then later on in movies it's not a big deal because he's never really tossed him around like he could.
Well, thou shall not pass.
Yeah. But, they're pseudo-friends after a while. So.
But, so the best thing about Last Stand is clearly Kelsey Grammer's beast.
Mm-hmm.
The man didn't care about FaceTime.
Nope. And I'm sorry, but are you freaking kidding me? You knew that was Kelsey Grammer the entire time. If you're a good enough actor, if you have a certain method, or if you're just really good at playing characters, you know. Have we ever been confused about who Johnny Depp is?
No, not usually. But
Does he wear all the kinds of makeup and masks and hats and everything to change his appearance? Yes. Again, if you're going to play a character, you might as well become a character actor.
Become it full.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, play yourself. Be Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's done, one character role in his entire career?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on.
It was actually one of his better movies.
It was. It really was. Because he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
moving along to the Wolverine, which is interesting. We can't just say 1, 2, or 3. We can't just have their own specific titles. It has to be X-Men Origin Wolverine movie, and then the Wolverine, and then he's not Wolverine anymore, he's just Logan. So, again, interesting ideas with these lack of continuity in titles, but speaking specifically about the second one here, this would be the sequel to Origins.
It was nice that they went to Japan. They just didn't do it in the right time that they did it in the comics, and he survived.
Silver Samurai was probably the only way that you could have pulled that off with CGI, but yet it still wasn't very good because, again, not very true to the character.
He survives an H-bomb, but he can't...
Short of crawling into a refrigerator, that's probably the second worst surviving an H-bomb scene I've ever seen in movie history.
And then he survives the H-bomb just so he could get beat up by ninjas?
Yeah. And, of course, the funny aspect about all this is the fact that Wolverine is 5'3", so when he's in Japan and he's around a bunch of other generally shorter people, he doesn't look weird. He's kind of blending in. He's just a stocky, hairy version of them. Yeah. And, of course, let's just completely forget the fact that he is a trained samurai who used a samurai sword numerous times, not just his claws. Let's just completely take that cool aspect out of even being in Japan and having all these previous senseis and masters for Logan. Let's just throw all that aside and have a cool scene with him lighting a cigar in a flame.
Yeah, the best part of that movie clearly is the bullet train scene. It's really interesting, but I mean...
Climbing down the bullet train, but then again, dwarfing his powers from the get-go, just to, again, I guess it is kind of, it goes to show you that, yes, Hugh Jackman is Superman. Yeah. In a sense, Wolverine is a Superman character of the Marvel world because he's indestructible. Yeah. But you liked him more because he had a chip on his shoulder because he was this scruffy little grunt, he was a little guy. He was short.
You never believed that he could actually take out anybody until he does, and you're like, oh snap, he's the underdog still.
But whereas Hugh Jackman, I guess you just automatically assume he's 6'3", he can kick anybody's butt, so we got to dwarf him down a little bit because giving him claws, adamantium, and a healing ability is just too much.
We got a viper spit in his mouth and make him, oh man, that hurt a lot longer than normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So you can like it for Wolverine moments, you gotta hate it for the fact that he was dwarfed in power, and it just kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense, and the whole movie kind of drug on for a while. I wasn't really all that impressed with it, so that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, now we go to the first of the rebooting X-Men movies in the First Class.
They almost did so many things right with this one. Because not only did they have the opportunity to reboot the whole franchise from there, put in all new actors, oh wait, hold on a second, we're still going to, in the future movies, find a way to plug in Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because we just won't let it go. We guys got to continue to kick that dead horse.
Right, and then making this love triangle between, Raven, Magneto, and Charles Xavier. I didn't necessarily understand or need that.
Yeah, it was forced.
Yeah, it was a little forced. The Force Ghost. And yeah, the best part is that they tried. Well, Fassbender's really the best part, but they really tried to put the.
He's really ended up being the best part in a lot of these movies, actually,
Yeah.
because he shows us that even though this movie really dulled a lot of these people's acting ability, he still decided to act.
Yeah, he put forth some effort. It's just unfortunate that it didn't really follow the stories, and these guys are not aging somehow in 10 years' time. They just keep
10
staying.
years, 20 years, 40 years into the future, suddenly they look the same, if not younger in some regard.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. But I did like Kevin Bacon as a bad guy. I thought that was kind of interesting because, let's be honest, in a lot of ways, like when Willem Dafoe played Green Goblin, you didn't have to really put any makeup or mask on him, So, in the same way, I felt like, if you're going to be a bad guy mutant, then, might as well
the
be
Hellfire
Kevin
Club
Bacon.
should have been in the Dark Phoenix or The Last Stand. Sorry, this is the way it is.
Yeah, again, just kind of taking so many oh, there's a cool thought, that's a cool character, this is how we're going to change it into something completely different. There, X-Men, guys.
Bad people. Nazis.
Yeah, every time. Nazis. Yeah, so, with that, I'll say it was a good opportunity lost. I think it did a lot of cool things with that, and I think that it had a good startup, and it was a good way to explain how Professor X lost the use of his legs, and past that, every movie after that was kind of a, why'd you miss that opportunity?
He could have fell off a horse for all I care, honestly.
So, yeah. So, moving on to number 6, and this one has hit me in a very soft spot in my heart because I so much love the comic book that this was supposedly based off of.
It's such a cool comic.
Such a cool comic. Old Man Logan is the culmination of a post-apocalyptic world where things have gone between humans and mutants. How ridiculously powerful Logan actually is, that if somebody could alter his mind to think that he was fighting bad guys the whole time, he could decimate every X-Men, which he did. He killed them all.
Crazy.
In this comic book.
Crazy.
But apparently that awesome plot point we decided just wasn't good enough for the movie Logan.
And then you could have had that in there, even though, there's other stuff from the MCU in the Old Man Logan series that you couldn't have in there. You could have at least had him killed. Well, yes, you still could have.
Yeah, it's a great plug for Hawkeye, too, because they're best buds at this point, so you could have intermingled the two worlds that we had going on at this time, but of course we just can't do that because Fox still had their greedy little paws in X-Men.
I realize that Mysterio is owned by Sony, and we don't have that luxury. But you guys made up so many fake, mutants. You might as well make up a fake mutant Mysterio for this.
You might as well not call it X-Men anymore and just call it your own super mutant movie or whatever, and just run on the tangent you want to go with instead of taking something that's already well established. That again was a nice layup for you with all the great characters that were already developed and story writing already done for you, with all the continuity explained out in detail. But no. They took it, they ran with it, they made it their own thing, and they even ruined their own thing. It just kind of like a double whammy.
Let's give Wolverine ED for his claws, because that's going to make him cool.
Yeah.
And
let's make him get beat up by a couple of short Mexican dudes, because apparently that's his
kryptonite?
That's his kryptonite.
Not really. But
that's MCU World's kryptonite for Superman.
Let's make him a limo driver.
Yeah. Let's make him haul around a dying, pretty much rotting corpse of Professor X the whole movie.
Just an old, crippled...
Yeah, let's give him gray hair and glasses, because apparently you get cataracts. Even though your healing ability can take care of all of this, let's just act like, even though it's been a long time since you popped your claws in the comic book, this time we're going to say it's because you can't anymore.
And you know what? I think X-23 is probably the best part of this flick, and the worst part is that he basically has to be killed by himself.
Yeah. The only way we can kill Adamantium Wolverine is by getting younger Adamantium Wolverine with more CGI.
Somebody in love with themselves much? This movie should have been called Thor Logan. Or something. And
as much as I throw shade and all that, I really do like Hugh Jackman as an actor. I like him in everything other than all the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
He's actually a really good actor. He's got some range. He's shown a lot of cool movies and
Prestige,
different,
good movie.
Yeah, good stuff. I like a lot of what he's done, except for this. And don't get me wrong, if they kept on offering me money in movie roles like this to be in 7 movies or whatever it was that he was in, then I wouldn't say no either. I'd go right along with it.
You're at a better height, though.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm a better height to play him as far as...
And you're closer to Canada.
Yeah. So... a lot of other things that would have made sense for that, but yet they just decided to, again, take their own idea and run with it, and they didn't care that nobody liked it, and they just wanted to keep on going because people kept on showing up to see these movies. And
now,
I get why.
We moved to 5, which is the start of this whole thing, because we had to ride those coattails of the Matrix and all the black leather and all the wire fighting we brought in.
Back when I still had faith in Bryan Singer as a director.
Well, we were just so happy to see an X-Men movie.
Yep.
I've been waiting for an X-Men movie my entire life, and that's not saying much considering I was,
see our favorite characters suddenly personified.
I was 17 when it came out, and the best part of that movie clearly is Wolverine flying through a window, So it's the first X-Men movies we're speaking of here, and it's just called X-Men, and it's just a lot of leather
Yeah.
And it's got this whole
It had a
thing
campiness
started.
to it that was okay. I thought, okay, it was kind of starting off a little slow. We're not developing these characters much. We've not really gotten into
We gave it a lot of
Logan's character
excuses.
or where he came from. Yeah, you gave it a lot of excuses because you were hoping that, okay, they'll go back and explain that. They'll go back and explain that. They'll make up for it. They'll make it right. They'll get to that.
His character was a lot closer to his character in that movie. He treated Scott Summers like crap. Appreciated that about it. Scott was like, I don't care. I'm a peacock.
Yeah,
whatever.
love that tension.
I'm gonna wear some high heels, so I'm taller than you.
Exactly.
Whatever, it's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really care for Rogue at all in that flick. It should have had Jubilee instead.
Well, you had Scott Summers, who is a stereotypical superhero, and then you had Wolverine, who's the anti-hero in a lot of ways.
But then that
yet
changed.
They decided to role reverse for the movie suddenly because he's 5-6 inches taller than Marsden. I guess
like
I don't
that.
understand that.
Yeah.
Again,
Anyway,
changing the characters all around.
Sabretooth looked fine. He was bigger than everybody, and I didn't have a problem with that. Didn't necessarily have a problem with the
Wasn't
casting.
that Kevin Nash?
No, it was a different wrestler.
Different wrestler? Okay.
Can't remember
Looks
his
similar
name.
to him, yeah.
But yeah, he's a big dude and doesn't have a lot of lines. You know why?
Yeah. Way to use people's physical attributes for the character.
Best line in the movie
for one character.
Clearly is, do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
I'm sorry, I blacked out. What?
Well, I don't know what happened.
Oh, man.
Moving right along to X2.
Brain tumor.
So, number 4 on our list is the sequel to the first X-Men movie, and the best part of this movie is clearly the opening sequence with Nightcrawler.
With a
It's like,
special
boo,
mention,
boo, boo,
special
boo,
mention
boo.
for an attempted Berserker mode for Wolverine that just didn't quite go the full length there because these are X-Men movies. We can't see blood.
No, blood's it's not human.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's scary. PG-13.
They must have realized at that time that only 13-year-olds were watching, so they tried to make an attempt to keep it rating it appropriately. But yeah, again,
I mean, throwing in Sync and Cyclops' car is kind of funny, but now it's a little bit over. Like I'm over it.
over cheesed, over camped.
Done with it.
Yeah.
And why, pray tell, is Iceman, being from Boston, have no Boston accent? Explain that. Why don't we just get Marky Mark to play?
We put you in the
Iceman
clothes,
next time?
therefore you don't need to act, right?
Hey, you know
You're the
what?
character now, the one that we've made up that it never came from anywhere, but
He
you're
had
the
the
character
haircut.
now.
He had the haircut. Let's
yeah.
do it.
Just walk around and say lines, and that's okay. It'll all eventually just kind of mold together. No big deal.
That was recast Pyro
Yeah.
as not a Scottishman.
Yeah.
Or whatever he was. I can think of something.
But hey, quick cameo, Jubilee. All right.
Yeah. Jubilee was just a cameo in all these movies.
Yeah.
Really. She was actually supposed to show up in the next movie. I'm just going to go move right on. I don't even care. I just want to move on.
And they quickly realized the error that way, but
Yeah.
why couldn't they for everything else? So
Yeah.
again, sometimes
I
they'll
still think
listen to reason, other times they won't.
The story of the first movie was definitely meant for Jubilee and not a Rogue. But we kept moving with Rogue, and then we never gave Rogue her powers.
No.
So
They
Rogue's
never gave her
very,
really the screen time that she deserved.
Just
I
a
wasn't a
whiny
fan of
woman
Anna
who can't
Paquin, but
kiss
you could have
anybody.
kept her. That's fine.
She's a whiny girl that can't kiss anybody the whole time. She's like, oh,
And again,
sorry.
where is the Southern Cajun accent? And why is she calling everybody Shug? I'm sorry.
Well, she had kind of a Southern accent, but she wasn't calling anybody Shug, and she wasn't like that, And
I don't
there's
know,
no
maybe just the
gambit.
way the words are slipping through that gap in her teeth. I'm not sure. But
Oh!
all that to say, Rogue, it's an unfortunate, yet again, another dwarf character that would probably have been a lot better had they gone with the original character.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just saddened greatly by it. The same thing happened with Nightcrawler. He was great in the start of that movie, and then all of a sudden he lost his tail and didn't do much.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on. You got a perfect actor to play the role.
All
The
these
beginning was
movies have an
amazing.
interesting note for all the bad editing because a lot of things that slipped in were just kind of like, where'd that come from? Why is he suddenly not in a spacesuit? But he is over there.
Yeah.
Why did he just change his clothes? Why did your makeup go away? You're blue, you're not blue.
Blue balls right here. Colossus showing up for 5 seconds. Just to carry.
Hey, Colosso, bye.
Just to carry a TV, and then it's like be impervious to bullets, and then I'll help you. No, help them. What?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you're right. Walk away. Huh?
No.
They can all get away. Maybe two of you would help being able to give them a longer getaway if they stayed and fought. But
I
no,
allowed
leave just Wolverine.
for the lack of Russian accent.
Yeah.
Just because it was so cool to see Colossus. But then the next movie comes along, and you're like, oh, there's a lot more Colossus. But Fastball Special kind of fell short.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
A little awkward. Wire work was not up to par for what it should have been then, and there was just no way that you
Once
could
again,
convince me that a 6-foot-tall guy could pick up 6'3" Hugh Jackman and twirl him around and throw him.
Well, he was a little taller than Hugh, but he was also in not much taller comparatively.
Either way.
That doesn't really work. But wire work people, you guys are doing really well these days.
Oh, yeah. You've made up for an awful lot.
10
the last
years
10
difference,
years.
huge. Just like CGI people, doing such a better job. Congratulations.
Really appreciate that because you can use that in so many ways without having to rely solely on computer graphics. So, yeah, I like
combination is really working.
With a little bit of actual set and not green screen, oh, man, you get points for that all day from us.
Let's bring it together for this camaraderie version of Days of Future Past, our number 3 here.
Let's just bring this whole thing to together that I mean, we can just. It's trying. It's like two different types of Play-Doh. They just don't want to mix.
It's like mashed potatoes and gravy. I mean, it just works so well.
Yeah, you take one side of the bowl out and the whole thing just spills over everywhere. It's a big mess and it gets all over all your other food.
But instead of Kitty Pryde going back in the past, because that makes some sense. Let's give her some random powers that don't make sense, and let's bring Wolverine as
powers
the main
that she never
character
had
again
in the previous movie.
Because we need Wolverine. We need him all the time.
Yeah, we need him to carry this franchise, even though all the true fans aren't happy about it.
So and I will say it again, Kelsey Grammer's Beast.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelsey Grammer's Beast.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great suit too.
It was a great suit.
Yeah. But other than that...
Because that was so good, it made Nick Holt's version so much more comedic. I mean, when we first saw that, it was hilariously bad.
Him fighting Magneto was kind of fun after, shooting Raven in that whole sequence. That was kind of interesting. I appreciated that. And him bringing out the entire stadium just to put him around there, and then, yeah. The Sentinels were okay in the past.
It was okay.
They're okay. And
certainly
in the future,
appreciated Trask.
In the future, they were ridiculous. There was no way they could have lasted 5 minutes against those things. There's like 1,000 of them, and they've
been developed so long to defeat mutants that they were already honed into that. So the earlier versions, okay, yeah, that works. They weren't, as big as they were. They weren't as bad and nasty.
That's
and,
the 70s.
The X-Men could, it was the earlier version. It was 1.0.
They looked like they were 80s, but it was the 70s. And then this version was like, the T-1000 on steroids, and there was 1 million of them, and there's no way in hell that any of them could have actually survived. So,
so you had to go back in the past. And this whole movie was to try and fix all the continuity errors by, unfortunately, just creating so many more.
So many more.
But
it was really nice to see Storm, doing some Storm-like stuff, having a haircut that made sense for her, and then dying.
Yeah. So many characters, hey, you just got him right. Oh, never mind, it's because you're going to kill him.
Yeah.
All right, then. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, a lot of that, yeah.
So much of that.
Somehow we're going to rip Colossus in half, even though he's impervious. Anyway, I don't know what's going on in that movie. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the last two movies.
Yeah, so moving on to the last two. Yeah, we have so many good things to say. Let's just bring this all back around to a positive note where we can breathe a big sigh of relief where not only was a actor who was appropriate for this role from the get-go. Not only did he have a lot of actual input, put up a lot of his own money for the project because he was just so well suited to play this character. We're of course talking about Deadpool.
And we're talking about the sequel before the prequel.
Yes,
because number two.
Talking about in order of importance and just how good the movies are. We got to mention Deadpool 2 first.
Yeah, because Deadpool 2. I mean, it's nice. I don't mind Brolin as Cable. Yes, he's too short for the role, but they mention it in a joke, and I like that in jest. And they even tried to make him look a little taller at times.
Yeah.
As
much as Brolin gets down on himself for how he didn't really act the way he wanted to in it, I still appreciated it. I see where you're coming from, but I didn't hate it.
No, I didn't hate it. I didn't necessarily love the little chubby kid, but whatever, he was fine. Yeah. But Juggernaut being Juggernaut was nice. You brought Juggernaut back, and that was cool. And
a real Juggernaut, not
and then having the random cameo from the X-Men in the X-Mansion, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, there they are. Okay, whatever.
This is an X-Men movie, guys, for real. Oh, look, there's the cast for a second. Okay, but
having his play on X-Force, and only really having Shatterstar as like an actual character and basically kill them all off, and having Brad Pitt randomly show up just to die.
Special mention for Brad Pitt.
There's
some of his best acting.
There's so much little funny, great things going on in that flick, and you just kind of felt like it was a fun ride. I want to take it. Then he really lays it on thick with his death scene because they're like, well, if Wolverine dies, I could die, and then he actually goes back in time and kills himself, to change the continuity of the thing, and he's all like, I think his love.
Sorry, guys, just gotta clean up, mop up a few things here.
I think his love for Wolverine in that movie is almost cynical too, and I can appreciate that. It's like, I love you.
I do like the bromance between Jackman and Reynolds.
I don't have a problem with that for this. But now we just move on. Let's just move on. Not with this, though. This is great. This is great stuff.
Yeah, this is great. If you can stay in this vein, if you can keep on going this direction with it. I mean, we are getting a third Deadpool, right? So, eventually. So, as long as we can...
I'm not a producer.
Yeah, as long as we can stick with this, as long as we just maintain this course, then so many good things can come from it. And I even have a little bit of hope for Disney taking over the franchise, now that they own it completely. I think a reboot is inevitable, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
Okay, there's a comic book out there where Deadpool kills the MCU. Not the entire Marvel universe. So you could totally make a movie where Deadpool comes into the MCU and just basically kills everybody.
Yeah.
And I would
just so we can reset it all for a massive reboot. Yes.
Anyway, so
that one's for free. Take it to the bank.
stuck on that.
Send the royalty checks to Ford.
So, number one is obviously the first Deadpool, and that, they needed to get people into Deadpool, so they kind of slowed you into it, but then when it took off, you're just like, oh, this is great.
Well, the whole, not so much fan made, but the whole video they made before the movie actually came out, and then putting that whole scene in the movie was great. At the beginning, I thought that was wonderful.
Just call me Angel in the morning.
Here's a taste of what it could be. You guys like this? Oh, rousing applause, yes! Okay, here you go. Here's the whole movie now.
Yeah, that was good. It was so much fun. I watched it back-to-back days, and I enjoyed it both times. Granted, I haven't watched it in a little while, but,
But perfect casting,
stayed
true to the character, brought in a few other off-character
Colossus pretty much right, except
people,
for
whatever,
the fact that he wasn't human. He was just a CGI
Megasonic
guy.
Teenage Warhead, come on, just a great name.
Yeah,
plenty of great Ryan Reynolds comedy, awesome timing,
losing his hands, losing his hand,
So many good parts about that. Just not to mention, too, the fact that this guy with the kind of healing ability would be Wolverine-esque, because I think in the comic books he does heal faster than him, so when he gets torn apart, it's like within a couple hours he gets his legs back.
Well, he just gets more main because people don't like him as much.
Yeah, exactly.
And he doesn't have
they want to try and shut up that mark with the mouth.
He doesn't have the adamantium skeleton like Wolverine, so it'd be a lot harder to rip him in half.
Yeah, because there is a fan theory that if Wolverine never had the adamantium, his healing ability would be so much faster and better because it's not constantly fighting the foreign adamantium on his bones.
I suppose that's true.
So when in the alternate version of the comic books, when Magneto strips all the adamantium off his bones, his healing ability becomes so ridiculous you can lob his head off, it would literally crawl back over his body and reattach itself within moments. So saying that about Deadpool, without having the drawback of the adamantium, his healing ability is so much faster that I think it was more comedic in the movies when they brought it in there to have him slowly grow his legs back, slowly grow his hand back. But in reality, it's more along the lines of by the time he gets home from the car trip, he's already grown his new limbs. So either way, I thought it was just very accurate to what the fans wanted, what the comic book originally was.
Good continuity.
And they just did it very well and in a positive light, and just I wish that the whole franchise could have followed suit along with this instead of
live and learn.
Instead of them realizing what they've done wrong in the X-Men universe horribly up until this point and then trying to make it all right, and then Fox trying to distance itself from it, but yet not.
We will see what the MCU will do with the X-Men.
Yeah. So of course we are talking about the Fox comic book universe here. It's not Disney, it's not MCU, it's not DC, it's not any of that. So you could definitely put it under its own thing, and Deadpool is attached to it, but I would be perfectly fine with them keeping Deadpool and then dragging that into the MCU.
Detaching itself.
It was like a good catalyst, a good bridge to bring it all together.
Yeah.
But there you have it.
It's it.
Our opinions on the matter once again, because you asked, so therefore we wouldn't have said
there was
otherwise.
so many fan mail coming in. It was ridiculous.
I know. Your comments were just blowing up our inboxes. We had to address it eventually. So,
we had to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't have the wheelchair to play the role of Professor X for this run, but
I'm sorry I wasn't blue the whole time. Apparently I'm the new version. I could change at will. So, yeah.
He wanted more FaceTime.
Yeah, I want more FaceTime. You got to recognize his face, because that's what I'm all about.
All about the money maker.
All about just hiding it behind here.
Yeah.
So we're glad you guys showed up for this one and that you enjoyed it, because we're just going to make that assumption now, even though you haven't even seen this yet.
I see him laughing.
Yeah, I can tell. I can see the look in your guys' eyes. You're going to like this one already. So go ahead and follow through with all your doobly-doos at the end there that the title screen's going to give you. And enjoy yourselves for the rest of the day. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Do it tomorrow. Not today.
Keep your head out of this hoax, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.